the nature of your emergency?
Welcome back to the Tactical Living Podcast. I'm your host, Ashley Walton, joined by Sergeant Walton. Glenn, how are you?
I'm good.
We're going to talk about when your neighbor needs a cop. This past week, so we live in a neighborhood with like 10 whole neighbors, and we're in a group chat together. And if there's one neighborhood that you don't want to cross, it's definitely this one, because everybody here is incredibly vigilant. It's something I love about where we live. And we are all very much in tune with one another. And we live by train tracks, and we've had what we believe to be like cartel organized theft near the railroad tracks. And it's kind of like the same repetitious pattern where you'll see a vehicle staked out and they're waiting for a particular train. They know exactly what they're looking for. And they'll wait until the train arrives. The train will park. It'll be there for however many amount of time that it is. And then these people have other people that are kind of on the inner part of the train tracks, and they go through and they steal a bunch of cargo out of it. They dump it. The train leaves. And then that other vehicle is like the getaway vehicle where it will pull in and then steal all of this shit. Right?
Yeah. It's a normal practice. And like right now, it's actually a really big problem, especially within our area, that these are regularly happening. And they set it up to the point. They're really kind of smart in how they do it. But if you know what you're watching for, you can really deter a lot of that.
Yeah, and we have BNSF who's very non-tolerative of this, and they've been staked out. We've seen them quite significantly recently, and it's always in this one particular area. So we have our little dirt road that's a turnoff, and it's typically like one block down from that. And there was a suspicious vehicle that was parked on our little dirt road, and all the neighbors immediately like show up in the group chat. It doesn't matter what time it is. If somebody sees something, they're going to say something. And so everybody started to keep an eye out for it, and we're all communicating about like who it could be, what are they doing, who made contact with them, what did they say, what did they look like, neighbors going down there, taking pictures of the vehicle, capturing the license plate, and so forth. And one of my neighbors, she's a female. I could tell by the way that she's messaging in this group chat that maybe she's alone. And I told you, Clint, you need to call her and ask her if she wants for you to go to her house. And then it dawned on me, I don't know that all of our neighbors even know that you're a police officer.
I know we've had some turnover and some new neighbors recently, and that could be one of the reasons. But it's one of those things, like knowing your resources, knowing like who's there and who's not there. Like when I called her, she was really, like, you could tell she's like shaken up over this whole incident.
And it wasn't just because the vehicle was parked there. The man was acting suspicious. Then he started to get out of his vehicle. Then his vehicle started to approach her house. And maybe he kind of got wind that we were all paying attention. And so that's what made her stirred up. So it wasn't for nothing. And Clint, you don't know what it's like to be a female when you're all alone. I know what it's like to be in a situation like that, actually, like a potentially deadly situation, being alone with a strange individual. And so I really wanted you to call her, and I'm glad that you were able to, whether or not she knows that you're a police officer. And after, I don't even know that she thinks that you are, actually.
Yeah,
like she's been here the longest, but it's one of those things where not like waving the thin blue line flag all over the place. And so it got me thinking about all of the pros and cons of being an off-duty police officer. And I know, Clint, for your particular department recently, they have asked for people to not get involved in particular situations. Like if you're off duty, stay off duty, basically. And that comes down to a lot of morals, I think. There are a lot of times where I know individuals would have to make that personal decision where sometimes it doesn't matter what a department says, right? Because a lot of times there's this line that's drawn to where it actually doesn't matter if you're a police officer or not. I can say that for myself as somebody who has gone through over and over and over again, just situational awareness when it comes to carrying a firearm. And so I think too that being a neighbor it's kind of like on our home turf. It's a little bit different too than being out there in the community.
Yeah, being able to, having your awareness there and being able to tactfully approach any given situation. There's different circumstances leading to each individual one, and you always have to make the determination based off your experience, based off your knowledge, and what you can and cannot do. And that's where being aware of your capabilities, but not only that, of the laws and the jurisdictional issues that you run into, is being smart about it, because you don't want to, one, unnecessarily put your friends or family at risk when going into a situation like that, but being able to address it if need be.
Yeah, and I think too that goes back to the moral stance, because if you had for some reason said no, I would have grabbed my firearm and then drove up to her house. Like, that goes back to those moral standards. And I think that when it comes to being a off-duty cop, there's preparedness and training, because you have the ability to act quickly. And my way of thinking is that you might be able to provide guidance and support a lot quicker than the emergency response, which actually had been called by that time.
Yeah, being able to approach situations, because you're going to have the experience and the knowledge and know-how on how to handle that situation, whether you're on duty or off duty. And I can think of a handful of incidents that I've actually investigated throughout my career of having to deal with off-duty cops in dealing with situations like that. Some good, some bad. And you're just like, why would you do that?
Yeah, a lot of times too, there's that ego trip. But I think that when you are an off-duty cop, there's this immediate trust, especially in emergencies, that exists. And the neighbors, a community, they all turn to you with confidence. I know for me, the first time we have a cop that lives like probably 2 very far blocks down. And the first time I heard that, I'm like, wow, that's great. Like, I love knowing that, right? And I think that even people who aren't married to a police officer have that same sentiment when it comes to knowing that there's an element of safety that lives close by.
Yeah, being able to lean on that resource and be able to have that, in people's mind, for the most part, you're like, oh, well, they have the resources to call in the troops if need be.
Yeah, and you're actually a community role model. It sort of sets this tone, and this tone of safety and security outside of your job. And I think too, it helps to strengthen your neighborly bond, because the couple of neighbors that I know that do know that you're a police officer, it's something that they almost hold on to these sort of bragging rights about it with you.
Yeah. And it's funny because I've talked to like new neighbors come into the neighborhood, and in not all instances, but in some instances, like, oh, one of your neighbors told me that you were a cop. Oh yeah, that's great. We love having that in our neighborhood. And sometimes that happens, sometimes it doesn't, because it's almost like they're like able to beat their chest saying, yeah, that's what we have in our neighborhood.
Yeah, and they do too, like expressing that to their friends and family. And so there are some cons though of being an off-duty cop, and this is where it's really important to know what your boundaries are. The first is that you could put yourself in a situation to where you're never fully off, and you could always be the one who's being called all of the time. We have never, nor would we ever tolerate that kind of behavior, but I know of many people to where that is something that they have to deal with.
Yeah, being able to draw those boundaries for yourself and your family is super important. And one, it's being clear and concise and on the onset of, hey, I'm not your personal cop, but if you need help, we can be there.
Yeah, you're my personal cop.
Exactly.
You know what, too? I think that when you're an off-duty cop, there's these high expectations, because neighbors, friends, family, they automatically assume that you're going to know what to do, even if it's outside of the realm of police work. Like asking legal questions, that happens a lot when you're a police officer. So that's definitely a con. And of course, we have the risk of liability. So getting involved as an off-duty officer, it can carry a lot of legal and safety risks as well.
Yeah, being able, especially as you in law enforcement, being able to dictate like what you answer and what you don't, and being able to provide the resources saying like, hey, I'm not an attorney, but based on my experience, I can tell you kind of this is what I've seen happen.
If you don't already have your USCCA insurance, I will drop the link for it down below. Whether you're a cop or not, I have it. Clint has it. I think that it's incredibly important because I mean, especially us living here in California. I was actually talking to an agent from that company when I went to the range recently, and he had asked the question about why you have this insurance. I was the only one in there that had it. And I explained to him that we live in the state that literally wants to do everything that they can to make sure that we can't carry firearms. And it's always them targeting the good guys. So very, very important. And I think that ultimately the most important thing when you are an off-duty cop, and even the family of an off-duty cop, is to make sure that you are setting those boundaries. And then it can be difficult to maintain that personal privacy, especially when your role literally spills into your day-to-day life. But having that hard line and saying no when you need to, it's okay too.
Yeah, being able to say no, it's not always easy to do, but being able to define that line and dictate what you can and cannot do is okay.
I hope you've gotten some value out of today's episode. If you have, do us a favor, drop a review, subscribe down below, and as always, know that I'm sending you a long, tight hug from my home to yours.